Forestry. I'll call a Forestry Recreation Committee meeting to order. And we'll say the pledge first. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so next we'll have, I better mark this off because I can mix it. Next we'll have, let's see, a roll call. So, Rich, you were here, Gary Ader here, Jerry Anderson here, William Messinger, Marty Vitek.
Here.
Everyone's here. Next we'll have, approval of the agenda. Somebody would like to- Okay, Bill.
I would make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, Bill made a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
And Marty seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carried. Next would be. Let's see, Chamber of Commerce, if she not here,
Not
so we'll pass that one then. Okay, next is public comments. Do we have any public comments? Any public comments? Is there anything on yours?
Nope.
Any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Everyone,
I'll make a motion to approve the minute.
okay, Gary makes a motion to approve the minutes. Second. And Gary will second it. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, next is the reports. Fishery is first with Zach and Jason. There's nobody there for that. Okay, so we move on to wildlife.
Yep, so, yeah, right now we're in our survey field season, and so we're doing rough ground surveys and woodcock surveys. So far, I did my first woodcock survey last night, doesn't seem like it's peaked yet, so we're gonna be going out later on this month to complete those. Rough ground surveys are looking pretty good, we're seeing really high numbers, compared to years past. In certain areas, some other areas are a little bit lower. Snow load really affects rough grouse, they like a lot of snow, so, kind of interesting to see that they're doing okay with that very small snow load that we had last year. We're also starting our wolf trapping season and throwing collars on a few wolves. If there is going to be any collared on county land, which I don't believe there is going to be, but they would contact me first to get permission. And that's Office of Applied Science through the DNR. We just finished off our county deer advisory committee, so setting antlerless quotas for iron in Ashland counties, well, statewide actually. For Ashland County, the CDAC recommended a quota. We're no longer doing a countywide quota, we're doing DMUs. So in Ashland County, you have 105, which is Apostle Island. 105 has a quota of 35. That's about the average that's taken annually off of the Apostle Islands. So that means for private and public land tags, it's split 50-50, so 60 going to private and 60 going to public, 60 permits. 113, which is kind of like the western portion of the county, in northern, they have a quota for 1,390 deer. Private land tags are gonna be 22,750, public land tags are gonna be 2,950. So that's basically split 50-52. And then unit 118, which is most of the county forest, and then going into Iron County. And that's kind of like the deep woods of Iron County and then the north. that had a recommended quota, the Ashland County CDAC recommended a quota of 100. And then Iron County CDAC recommended a quota of 75, I believe. So we're kind of in the negotiation stages for these DMUs that span multiple counties. But that DMU, I think we agreed upon is gonna be a quota of 90, so 200 tags on private land and 100 tags on public land.
Can I stop you there for a minute?
Sure.
How does that compare to last year?
Well, it's kind of hard because last year we did statewide, or we did countywide quotas. And so Iron and Ashland County had 0 permits last year, 0 quota. But they did have the junior or the junior harvest, the youth harvest. So we're upping quotas, which out of any year to actually up quotas, this would be the year because we've had 2 really, really mild winters. So our does are gonna be coming in really healthy, they're gonna be dropping fawns earlier, which means that deer are gonna be breeding earlier. And so fawns may be having fawns coming next year and even this year. So yeah, it's kind of difficult to say because these DMUs now span multiple counties or at least, 2 counties, so. But yeah, like for Iron County specifically, because I don't work so much on the Ashland CDAC, I work on the Iron County CDAC, and so we could have. Conservatively had a harvest of 500 does for the entire county. And so our quota now for all of our DMUs, which is 2 DMUs in Iron County, is 500, but that's not just spanning Iron County, it's also bringing in Ashland and Vilas County. And so I think we're doing more conservative harvests using this new DMU system just for the first year than what we could actually be doing. But it's based a lot too on historical averages prior to splitting up the counties. And the reason why that is because we had a huge push to split up into the DMUs that we currently have, so the ones that kind of like the old DMUs based on habitat type. We had that push come to us fairly late in the planning process. And so in order to get it off the ground, we kind of just had to use what we had to the data that we had to get it off the ground, and now next year it should be a little bit more refined.
They switched to kind of more like used to be with the different deer hunting zones. It's like in Ashland County, there's a big difference between how many deer up in. In fields of up by Ashland compared to the forest down here, so they kind of switching back to how it used to be, but different.
Yeah, and actually Ashland also has unit 106 in there, and I forgot about that, that's on the northeastern portion of the county, and it goes into Bayfield County. That has 685, and that's a smaller unit, but that's kind of like the egg country. That has 685 quota with 2,300 going to private land and only 400 going to public. And then other than that, we're the wildlife management program still trying to figure out what kind of work that wildlife is going to be doing on county forests. I don't know if you guys remember, but a few months back, maybe it was even a year ago now. I informed the county that we are not to be doing openings and hunter walking trail work on county forests. And we've kind of tried to skirt around that a little bit, and now it was a hard no come fall. We're gonna be having a work meeting later this month to kind of discuss where we're at in the guidance going forward with that. But it's basically based on PR funding and how we can utilize those funds. And so until then, the work that we can complete on the county forest is gonna be very minimal. That doesn't really affect us for the next year, because this year isn't a wildlife openings year, but next year is going to be. We do it every 5 years, we do it in rotation, so next year is supposed to be the year that we come back and start mowing and maintaining those wildlife trails, so hopefully by then, the wildlife program will recognize that the work we do on the county forest is important and that we should continue it, so. Yeah.
Are you open for questions?
Sure.
I missed the last meeting, but the meeting before you had brought up about buck and doe harvest during the season as far as for bow and gun. And I guess my big question was, did you take into account or how much is considered roadkill? Was that up, or do you have any idea how much roadkill in the county as far as does and bucks?
Yeah, we actually keep, well, the county or whoever the contractor is keeps track of all that, and that goes into our population estimates.
Was that up or down or about the same or?
Up. Well, I don't know if I looked at Ashland counties, but Iron counties was significantly up, and I actually did a 4-year thing from 2012 to 2016, 2016 to 2020, then 2021 to current, just to see the trend, and the trend is significantly upward.
Were you planning on coming to the next meeting?
Yeah, I can come. Would you like that information?
Yeah, would you do like the, if possible, if it's not too much work? Like the 5 years, previous 5 years. If it's not too much work, I don't know, if you could just pull it up.
I actually probably could just pull it up right now, because we use the DOT webpage. And so let me look at that, and I'll try to report by then.
Bill's computer savvy, you could just give him that link too.
Yeah, I could, oh, is that a joke?
Store your calendar.
I did notice that between my house and Ashland, there's an awful lot more deer splattered on the road than the year or so.
Yeah,
It's, you know, it's hard to quantify that, but it does, it seems to be that way.
yeah, and it's difficult too, because sometimes people will pull the deer off themselves for consuming. It's unless they go in and register it, which they can legally take it and register it. If they don't register it, we don't get that data. But even the data that we do have with that is showing that there's been an increase in deer numbers. It also depends on the contractor too. Sometimes you get a contract that doesn't report. It used to be paid per deer that you pulled off your own. Now it's just a lump sum, so they don't have to be as diligent about that. So.
County Highway Department used to go ahead and pick up the deer along your road. And now they contracted out, they had a company, I don't know where they're out of, that did a lot more, so the deer stay on the road longer. So, but I'm just saying,
How long ago was that?
about 2 years.
2 years ago? We'll see if you can see that in the data at all.
Well, you know,
Well, there's gotta be a multitude of does, right?
So just for between here, leaving Butternut and the county line between Iron and Ashland, I counted 160, 146 or 164 deer. One day, and just to give you an idea of the difference between that, the highest I've ever counted between here and there was 67.
Right?
So we've had a significant increase in our deer population with 2 very mild winters. And that's great news, but the problem is that our bucks still continue to be harvested and our does don't, so our sex ratio is all messed up. Which then makes bucks not have to move, it makes them smaller because they hang out with the matriarch group, they're not as healthy, and they also, that means the majority of our does probably aren't getting bred, so.
Yeah.
I might have missed this when you were talking earlier, but I understand that there's a plan to manage the deer herd by habitat rather than county lines. Is that, how far along is that?
That'll be happening this year. 2025 will be the first year going back to an old DMU system. And so, and a lot of those lines look very similar to the old DMUs. It's just we've combined some of those deer management units to create larger ones. And so 113 is the same as it's always been, that those lines have not changed. And that used to be 28, I believe.
Is it gonna go back to you have to register?
I don't see any registration, in-person registration in the future. Every year we get feedback saying they want registration and back tags back. But I don't think that's, and I don't see that happening ever again. Unfortunately.
You know, our state officials should realize that, oh, that deer registration is a nice, revenue maker for mom and pop business.
Yeah, absolutely. Great heritage still there too, but. It'll be costly if we ever did go back to that, because we don't have any of the infrastructure anymore to print off those tags. We got rid of them almost immediately. And then also having to staff registration stations with a percentage of the amount of staff that we've ever had, so.
If you're sitting there, standing there in the back, you wanna sit down, there's chairs up here. I need to see someone stand, so have a seat.
Okay.
Well, any more questions? If not, we can move on. Thank you for your report. We can move on to the forestry then.
All right, Ryan Peasley, Forestry Team Leader for Ashland, Iron County. So just an update for where we're sitting with the Ashland County hours. So last call, we're just a little over 80% of our hours obligation for the year. If you remember from the last time, that's not a significant bump in the number from the last meeting, because we kind of got into fire season here, and it always kind of slows down in the spring of the year when we kind of get busy doing those other things. Still sitting in a good spot to meet our obligations to the Ashland County Forest. And I think the total number of hours we owe is about 170 or 180 right now. Still very doable for us. We still got Garrett, the ranger, here working as the temporary liaison. Do have good news. We have an accepted offer for the Ashland County liaison position that used to be Avery. A very experienced forester will be joining us here on June 2nd and stepping in as the liaison. So looking forward to getting him started, and we'll be setting a meeting, meet with the county staff and get him rolling. So should see a bump. He'll be able to hit the ground running with us. He's done this position before in another county, so the learning curve should be pretty flat. So he should be able to get in the woods right away. So that's exciting. So between the new hire and Garrett, myself, and an LTE, Andy Oberto, I don't think we're gonna have any problem meeting our obligations to Ashland County Forest. Go ahead.
When does your fiscal year run from?
It ends on June 30th.
So it runs from June 30th to June 30th?
Yep. So, yep, we'll be wrapping that up here shortly, and then starting the new one. So looking to sit down with county staff and kind of come up with our project list for the summer and fall here shortly. We can start doing our recon for the next timber sales, et cetera, and kind of have a work plan moving forward from there. As far as overall forestry goes, like I said, this time of year, we kind of get pulled over into the fire side of things. Up here in northern Wisconsin, we had a very mild year so far. Things were very slow with all that rain we were getting. It was hard for us to string two dry days together, much less 3 or 4. So had a slow start, but you'll notice the last week or so things have dried up considerably, and the timing of it lined up really well or poorly, depending on your perspective, with our moisture dips and our fuels. So we're trying out right when the conditions are the best to have a good sized fire. So just want to mention that because our fire danger has risen to very high here, and it looks like it's going to stay that way for about 8 to 10 days here before we get some significant precip. So if you're out about in the community and you see anybody burning, make sure you call it into us. Our burn bans are suspended. Have been for the last 2 days and will be probably again for another 6 or 7 days. So let us know if you see anything and kind of spread that word across the community. And then as things start to green up and we get a little more rain, we'll kind of come out of it like we do every year. But the next week to 10 days is going to be kind of critical. I think that's all I've got, unless you guys have questions.
Any questions? I guess not. Thanks for your report.
Yep.
And then, Next, we'll move on to the snowmobile ATV report. On.
Oh, okay, well, I'm John Westfall.
Okay,
Give you an update on the Ashland County Snowmobile Alliance. We had, Ron has resigned as the president. We had elections, 2 months ago?
Yeah.
2 months ago. I am, have been elected as the president. Don Deal is the vice president. Rich Ruckama is the VP. And we don't have a secretary right now, so my wife is the acting secretary. We've rewritten the bylaws for the Alliance. In the Alliance, we have structured groups. We're breaking out different committees for different items to be done, worked on, trails, signage, landowners, easements, all that stuff. Our delegates, they used to be called delegates from each club, now we're calling them directors. We're getting the whole, everybody from all 5 clubs they have 2 directors and 1 alternate. So we're restructuring that, so we're participation from everybody. Tom's one of the directors, of course. And he's working with all the people down here in Butternut, and we have people all through the whole county working on it. We did acquire some land from Peter Joykin in Mellon on Hillcrest Road. He gave us an acre of land. We're in the process of, it has to be clear cut, of course, and that's gonna be one of our locations. We plan eventually to build another groomer facility there for storage. But right now, the Mellon groomer is being stored at Triumph. So working on that, trail reroutes, we have a couple landowners that we've been no longer allowed to do trail reroutes on, allowed trail on. One's up by Sanborn. The Ashland Club's working on that. I know Tom's working on a route down here on the Cemetery Road. We also have a landowner. We had a 20-year easement with them, where the bridge goes by Highway 77 Dragon Creek. We've been denied crossing their property now. So we have a bridge that needs to be relocated. Jeff Thompson, once we can't go across the creek further down or wherever we get easement. Short term, we're going to Jeff Thompson, we can store it at his place and, the shop back there. Once I figure out how we're gonna get it out of there and who can get it out of there. I'm also working with the DOT on the highway crossings. We're working with them as far as what we need to have as far as approaches, because the highway is gonna be done in a couple of years, so I contacted them. I want to get the approaches put in ahead of time. So we have that all set, and so we've already talked to them. We've got the recommendations. One trail reroute that we did last year on the right of way, we have a landowner that's constantly complaining, telling Chris. I tried talking to her and she's actually had contact with the state. She wants to buy the right of way from the highway. And he said no, and I tried to tell her it's a legislative law, we can ride the right of way, but just to please her, we're going to cross before her property, and then we're gonna go on the other side. We're gonna go on the west side of Highway 13 instead of east side of Highway 13. So, and
Where do you live?
Cayuga,
Downtown?
no, you know where your Dick Evenson used to live?
Yeah,
Okay, my land joins right up to that.
okay.
Yeah, my dad bought that property in 1954. I moved up here in 2013, so. When I retired. At a young age, I said, the hell with it, I quit actually.
It sounds like you got a better part-time job.
So, other than that, I know there's been a thing with, the trails being redone. It's a constant battle, getting things worked on that. We've improved a lot. But the equipment was used by all 5 clubs this last winter, as far as brushing and stuff. Get our trails open, we have a lot more signage to do. The Forest Services give us some stuff. I'm working with the Forest Service on one trail to get some fill put in. There's a massive hole, and it's actually a trail between 351 and 182. I talked to Katie Mullen, and they're gonna try to write a grant to get the fill in. So, I don't. We get enough snow, we can just shove snow in, and I ain't gonna worry about it, but if we don't get enough snow, we're in trouble. We're also working with them on the trail up by Morgan Falls. There's a steep hill up there, about having to grade that. Work on that. The bridge issue is always a constant. I've contacted Custom and Anderson to go back in the records to let me know which bridges they have installed in the county and at what year time frame. We have no record of nothing on the bridges. And I know there's some that they put in, so they're gonna gather that information and get it to me, so. Yeah, and other than that, it's an everyday occurrence. It's, yeah.
No snow, but
No, so, well, we had some this last winter, so we did get some grooming in, and it worked out good, cause, you know, each club's got a section of trail, and, well, you guys got what, 3 operators down here, I mean, we had enough operators, we did get some grooming time in, so we did okay, I mean, for the short season we had, so. And so let's put it this way, we don't have to give the DNR any money back, well, we can keep.
no, that's good.
Yeah, so. So anyway, yeah, that's about it for right now.
Oh, okay, is there any questions? No questions? No. Okay, well, thanks then.
Yep,
Yeah, you were at Mellon Council meeting
yep, I
too.
was at the council meeting last night about the trail reroute, or working on the trails for town, so.
Yeah, so you're right on the ball with, try to get stuff done.
Well, you know, people don't realize how much, you know, they say, oh, there's a lot of money that gets lost when you don't have a snowmobile. I mean, my daughter is a CEO of the Minocqua area, and there was a big survey done in that 23-24 year, when there was no snow up here at all. The northern third of the state, just the northern third, they did a survey, they were figured $33 million of revenue was lost of it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Snowmobilers, they spend money, so.
Yeah, you know, when I look at, you know, you got Bayfield, got always big, Iron County's big, let's start trying to pull some of that this way, you know.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Okay, no, go ahead, Joe.
It sounds like you're organized and you're willing to work on it, and we appreciate it.
Yeah. It's an everyday. During snowmobile season, my wife and I would probably spend anywhere from 4 to 6 hours every day working on stuff.
Oh,
So that became another full-time job.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
So next is. We don't have,
No rec officer yet that I'm aware of.
is there anything in the works? No, nothing.
I understand that they're actively recruiting people. I'm assuming they're struggling like all the law enforcement agencies with
Yeah.
recruiting people.
No
So,
help around, you can't find anybody.
right.
I heard that Ashland County short like 4 officers now already.
I know they're down, yeah. Yeah, so.
You know, and that's another thing, there is, I know I was at a AWSC meeting and I can get you a name of the head of the officer in charge of that, because I thought I heard something at one time, there was grant money you could get for rec officers.
Oh,
Yeah, well, we get, the county participates in the rec officer program and gets the majority of the cost of that position gets reimbursed through that grant program. And the county had been taking advantage of that grant program until the last rec officer quit the position. And now they're just struggling to find somebody to fill that. I think they're still filing their letters of intent every year that they're gonna participate, but they just don't have anybody to fill that role right now.
That's the head of the creative whole, I can, when next time I go to an AWSC meeting, I can talk to him.
Sure.
oh, go ahead, Marty.
I was gonna say about the rec officer, I remember the days before we had them. And there was a vast improvement once we got them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I see it on the trail system, no trail passes, you know, you see it all the time.
Yeah.
People are just doing whatever they, you know, staying on the trails, you know. And that's one of the biggest complaints I get is people are running off, you know, off the trails and not staying on the trails. Oh, here's a field, let's take across there, you know.
Oh, okay, so. And, okay, so then we'll move on to, administrators updates.
All right, the first item on the agenda, the bid bond discussion, we talked about this at our last meeting. We've talked about it in the past. I
I think everybody should have got a copy of the letter again this month. We've had several individuals who bid on our timber sales ask if we can do away with the bid bond, which a lot of counties in the state have done away with. And so we feel comfortable eliminating the bid bond with the catch that if somebody wins a contract and doesn't sign the contract, that they take a 2-year prohibition of bidding on county timber. Just like we discussed at our last meeting. So now that we have a full quorum here and stuff, I guess I'd ask if there's any questions in it, if we could approve that policy change.
Okay, go ahead, Marty.
I think that's a good idea. I don't know that a bid bond is really necessarily, because the small dollar amount involved relatively.
Typically small, yep.
Yeah,
And there is an expense associated for securing or procuring that bid bond for some of these companies as well.
yeah, and you, if need be, you could pre-qualify them anyway.
We could, absolutely.
And the other thing, I forgot what the other thing was. It'll come to me later. But anyway, I'm in favor of it. Oh, it would open up for more. Yeah.
Correct.
Be easier. Any other question? Okay, go ahead, Bill.
What, we didn't have a quorum of members last meeting and Gary sat in. Now, what you passed was that
We didn't pass anything.
we didn't pass anything because
That's why I brought it back to you.
because you didn't have a quorum of members.
Yeah.
But Gary could participate in it. Well, that's why, that's what the bottom line was.
That's what we found.
That's what we were told
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay, I
But
kind
at the time, we didn't know, so we didn't make any decisions.
of, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why we brought it back this month.
Went on the safe side.
I'll make a motion
Okay.
to not needing it.
Motion by Gary. And then the second. Okay, Bill, and seconded by Bill, all in favor, so they say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried.
Okay, the next item is the recreational grants we do on an annual basis. We budget $10,000 every year for these rec grants. The application period is open from January to the end of March. We review them in April, bringing them to the committee in May for decision making. The only applicant we had this year was from the Glidden Athletic Association. Everybody should have got a packet of information about their project, and then I put together this the spreadsheet that I use so I can figure out if they have the proper amount of cash in hand and all that kind of stuff, and what their grant amount is. The total project cost is just over $16,000, and they do have in excess of 25% cash on hand, which makes a potential grant amount of $3,053.75. And it's a good project based on all the parameters of the rec grant that we've established.
You run that by me again as far as what they would be eligible for towards this grant.
So they're eligible, the grant amount they're eligible for is $3,053.75.
Now, would they be eligible next year for this same grant?
They'd be eligible to apply. It would be the decision of the committee as to whether or not they would be
Okay,
awarded.
so this 16,000 something, doesn't have to be paid in 1 year,
They're supposed to have their work completed in a year.
but as far as payment.
They'll get payment from us next week when Shane voucher check.
The $3,000 some dollars if we pass it.
Yep. So they'll have that in hand, by the end of the month.
Go ahead, Marie.
And at some point, they'll come back and say, we did this, this, and this,
Correct.
we spent money on.
Correct.
Go ahead, Bill.
I'll make a motion that we allow them this grant of $3,053 or whatever. I don't know what you want to call it. If you want to call it area recreational grant.
Yeah, it's the Forestry Recreation Rec Grant.
I would say that they should be allowed to make a motion to accept.
Okay, motion made by Bill to accept giving these people the grant, and second by Marty. No, we have to have a roll call vote because this is money, right?
Any further discussion?
Yeah, is there any further discussion on this? What is this is percentage of the project then? We just give them percentage?
It's a percentage, so they have to, when they put their application together, they have to put their total project cost in. And then they have to break out all of the monies and assets that they have for the project. And one of the requirements is they have to have at least 25% of the project cost as cash.
Okay.
The rest of it could be in-kind donations, somebody could be donating the material, the labor, whatever. The requirements that were developed in the past just stated they needed to have 25% of their project cost in cash in the bank. And as long as they do, then they can apply for funding up to a certain percentage of the total cost.
Oh, okay, so it's a percentage of.
It's a percentage of it's a percentage of the total cost minus the cash on hand.
Oh, okay. Okay,
And it's the same standard that we hold every applicant to.
okay.
Other years we've had more than one, so.
Yes, we've had years where there's been 4 or 5 applicants.
Yeah.
We've had years where we've had to either turn applicants away or cut back on not funding the full quote unquote amount that we could fund in order to stay under that $10,000.
Okay, any other questions or anything?
Can we give them the whole 10,000? Or do we have to give them a percentage?
Well, the rules that were developed and that we've used in the past say we give them a percentage.
Okay, and it's like a dollar amount or?
Well, I believe it's 25% of the unfunded balance after the cash is taken out. So basically they take the cost of the project less a minimum of 25% cash, and then that remaining 75% is eligible for up to 25% grant funding.
Any other questions? So if not, we had a first and a second to adopt this, so we'll have to have a roll call vote on this. Because it's money, so. So let's see, everybody's in favor of this by saying yes, Gary Gator,
Yes.
Jerry Anderson,
Yes.
William Metzger,
Yes.
Marty Vitek,
Yep.
Rich Huber, yes. So motion carried.
Okay, we'll get that check cut for you. The next item is the possible UTV purchase. Last fall, when we were doing budgeting on the capital budget side of things, I put in a request for funding to purchase a UTV. I requested up to $45,000. That was approved in last year's capital planning. So I went out and solicited bids. Sent requests to 3 quote unquote local dealers. And then had somebody that saw our ad in the paper reach out as well. We received 2 bids back. One from Duluth Lawn and Sport and one from Irv Sales and Service and Tomahawk. The lowest bid was from Duluth Lawn and Sport for $37,328.92. Dan said I needed to have committee approval in order to spend that money that was budgeted last year in the capital budget. So I'm asking for the committee's approval to purchase that piece of equipment from Duluth Lawn and Sport.
Were you satisfied with what they offered for $37,000?
Yes, I did better than I thought I was going to do on the bid process. We got all the quote unquote options that we thought we needed to have on the machine. For lighting and that kind of thing for safe work environment.
Did we get any part of this paid for by a grant?
We did not.
So what kind of machines are these?
It's a Polaris Ranger side by side with a cab on it. It's gonna have, we'd like to purchase a set of tracks to put on it to use in the wintertime for trail work and getting around the county forest for running lines and that kind of thing. And then in the summer we'll have tires on it. It'll be set up to carry tools and signs and that kind of thing. So we'll go to look at the trail. If there's a place that needs a stop sign or there's something over the trail, we can remove it and do that kind of inspection work as well.
Okay,
Did that bid price include the tracks?
It included everything, correct?
really?
Yep.
Oh, that's pretty good. But what kind of machine you have right now?
We have 2 4-wheelers right now, just single rider, four
I
wheeler.
mean, what's the company, I mean, Honda,
They're Yamahas,
Yamaha's,
they're Yamahas.
so those are pretty good.
They've been excellent machines.
I mean, is there anything here from like Can-Am or Honda or anything?
No, I bid out the Polaris just because that was the localist that we had access to.
Oh,
And the machine I've had the most experience with personally.
oh, okay, so it's been a good machine.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
What paper did you publish this in, or did you have it online?
It was published in the Ashland Daily Press.
And you had it online?
I'm assuming they're online.
No, what I'm just saying, has the forestry department had a website where they had it online?
No,
But this is, well, 10 grand less than what it should have been. One of us would have went and bought it, was correct.
correct.
Yes.
So the price is $37,328.92.
And 92 cents, correct.
That's what it is.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Okay, motion by Gary, second by Jerry to approve the sale of the money for the new TV. I think we have to have roll call on this too, right? I want you to. So, all those in favor, we'll go by things first, all those in favor, somebody say aye. Okay, aye, okay, opposed, okay, so now we'll go on roll call vote. And so, Gary Eater,
Yes.
okay, Jerry Anderson, William Metzier,
Yes.
Marty Vitek,
Yep.
Rich Huber, yes. So that's approved. Motion carried.
Thank you. The last item on the agenda is an update. About Second Landing. I'm sure everybody's heard about water levels. Not only on Lake Superior, but on the inland lakes as well. But Lake Superior, in this particular case, we have an issue at Second Landing. The bowl, the basin of the landing itself is sedimented in. Water level on the lake is way down. Everybody's having problems this year. We're working on trying to get a permit from the state, the Army Corps of Engineers, to dredge the landing. We've been meeting with contractors to understand that process because this is not something we've ever done before, so we're learning about it as we go. We have posted signs at Second Landing, cautioning the public that is using the landing that the landing is very shallow and the lake is very shallow. And there's actually probably a bigger problem outside of our landing than inside of our landing. They're somehow managing to get out of the landing right now, the boat landing is being used, but there's no water outside the boat landing either. For several hundred yards, it's very, very shallow, like under a foot. And so there's big issues with the water level in the lake. There's big issues at Second Landing, and we are working on them. It's not a process, however, that's designed to move quickly. The DNR does not move quickly. I'm under the understanding that the Army Corps of Engineer will approve their permit as long as the state waters regs people approve the state permit. So I don't think we have to get a separate Corps permit to do the work, but we do have to work through the state to get a state permit, which we are in the process of doing. Okay. It is also, if we do this, not going to be cheap. And there is 0 grant dollars that I can find to pay for this or to help pay for it. The initial quote that we received from the first contractor we talked to was over $300,000. And they won't fund maintenance dredging.
When those deadheads float in there, whose responsibility is it to drag them out of it?
We try to keep them cleaned out of there whenever we're up there or whenever anybody makes us aware of any.
The way that landing design was put in and the way it's curved, anytime you get a northeast wind, it pulls everything right into the side. I used to put in there a lot. I do a lot of fishing up on the bay. I've been going over Washington. I got a 20-foot boat. I can't even attempt to put my boat in there. You wouldn't when the water was high, when you would come out of where the wall is, when you come out, it would come right up to 2 feet, 2-3 feet when the water's high. It's just when you're northeast wind, the way that's designed, it just everything just pushes right in there.
And the last contractor that looked at it, he said, you know, because it's technically quote unquote safe harbor. So we're supposed to dredge it down to like 6 to 8 feet.
Right.
And he said, when you do that, you're gonna be lower than the lake bed outside the break wall.
Yeah.
And it's just somewhere for the sediment to go and
Yeah.
funnel then, so
Yeah.
it's just gonna fill back in.
Yeah.
So we're in the process of trying to at least get the permit so we can try to figure the problem out, but I don't know exactly what the resolution will ultimately be.
Go ahead.
Who would land up paying for this? Would it be on the county budget
It
or
would have to come out of the county pocket somehow.
something like? You don't have a fund for
I do not.
any type of projects like this?
I did reach out to the highway department. They are going to build us a donation box that we can install up there and try to start gathering some donations from the public that uses the landing. So we can start to build some kind of fund, but I mean, even if it's a $30,000 project, you're gonna take 15 or 20 years to build that out of a donation box, so.
Yeah.
We'll have to figure out something.
Most people, $10 for a board now, anyway.
Yeah, we don't charge anything for.
Yeah,
for
second
that,
lane has
right?
always been free, that's why you get so many people there. I think Ashland's $10. And I think Washburn is 10, I know up by Red Cliff up in that area, I think it's like 20 now,
Oh,
so.
have you been having a lot of complaints?
I had a couple of complaints early on.
Oh,
I have not had any complaints since. But one of the people that brought it to our attention initially has been using the landing and has told me that. When he uses the landing, there's a lot of people using the landing.
oh,
So they are able to get out and get on to the lake, get out into the bay and stuff. But it's just, they're having to work at it, I think.
oh.
The landing, from what I understand, the actual landing, like where you would launch your boat and retrieve your boat, is functional. It's the mouth of the break wall that's, I mean, there's spots in there where there's only 6 inches of water.
Oh,
But they're able, I'm sure probably a 20-foot longer or longer boat probably wouldn't be able to get in out of there. So I'm assuming they must be smaller, shallower draft boats that are going. in and out of the
16
break.
footer, only 16 footer.
Do the currents fill sand in there? Is that what the deal is or what?
I think, like John said, when we get a north or a northeast wind that blows down the bay and it moves sediment around, it'll push into the mouth of that opening, because that opening kind of points off to the northeast out towards the big lake. So anytime you get a north or a northeast wind and it pushes that water down and pushes the sediment down, it just naturally funnels in there.
And it's all sand out front, so it just rolls,
And I mean, it's a flat part of the lake. I mean, it's the bay, it's a flat piece of water
gotta go
compared to the
along
rest
with
of Lake Superior.
Yeah.
You know, there might be, I mean, if it really comes to it, there's probably a way to design another wall out to the front of the opening that would stop that influx from a northeast wind pushing in there.
Right.
But that would be, probably a multi-million-dollar
yeah,
project.
that's
It
what
would
I'm.
have to be grant funded and that kind of thing. It would be a big development type thing.
Go ahead.
Can we use any of this community recreational development grant money that's unspent? Towards that?
We could use it as seed, I suppose.
No, but I'm just saying, can we or not?
No,
What happens if we don't, what happens if we don't spend?
it goes back to the general fund.
It goes back to the general fund.
Yep.
Can I say something?
Sure, go ahead.
Who's speaking?
Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Did you say yes?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, it's kind of locking up. Can you hear me okay? Okay, sorry I'm late. We're still getting smell calls here, and so it was kind of crazy this morning. Chris, I'm the new representative for Lake Superior on the Wisconsin Waterways Commission, and I will get in touch with you because there are some grants that could be available for the Great Lakes. Still, we still have a little bit of money in that pot, and they do put in a lot of dredging applications, but they're very, very specific. So we'll take a peek at some of them, and so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. But as long as you have the Corps of Engineers started on it, that's really the most important thing.
Okay.
So I'll help you as much as I can with that, giving you a little bit of heads up on if that's something that's that could apply to this project. I've heard a lot of complaints in Ashland. As John was saying, people are saying they're going to Washburn, and that type of thing. But can I give you an update on tourism?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So we were given, or we received a GEM grant, Joint Effort Marketing Grant, last year to look at a type of way to people that have been to Ashland County. And basically, what we're looking at is because our county is so cut up, obviously with Madeline Island up in the north, and we've got all the way down to Butternut in the south, it's very hard to figure out what people are,
We're losing you, Mary.
what people think when they came. But
We're losing you. Your break is really bad.
yeah, I don't think we have a good connection. So I guess what I'll do is let you know that we're working on this rebrand. We've got a lot of really good things going on, and there's a lot of good support in our southern Ashland County with community members. So I'll keep you posted on that. I'll call Chris. We'll see if we can do some dredging stuff and um, just have a great Ashland County day.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks. Okay, anything else?
I had one other thing, just for information for the committee, our timber revenue as of today is $255,000. 255.
When is that from? January 1st?
January 1st.
Do we have any more coming in? I mean, there's
That's the rest of the year.
so you gotta wait.
It's a really good number for beginning.
For sure, yeah, for sure, no.
How much was budgeted that we were supposed to raise?
I think 500 or four, no, maybe 450. I think I cut it back 450.
Well, that's good. Okay, go ahead.
We had the bills that we signed, and I see there was timber sale revenue to the townships. Do they get a percentage of the land that's in their district that's logged?
You can't ask questions that we dealt with last meeting when you were here.
It was, we just signed it.
We talked about it last meeting.
It doesn't say anything in the minute.
So each township that has county forest land in it receives 10% of the gross timber sale revenue on a prorated basis, the acres in their township.
10%,
10%,
just in their township.
just in their
So
township.
if there's no logging in Peaksville, then Peaksville doesn't get any
They
revenue.
still get 10%. It has nothing to do with the townships, the logging that occurs within the township. It's total gross revenue.
From the county forest.
So they always get a piece of the pie. Even if for some reason, I mean, our timber sales randomly occur on the county forest. They get scheduled randomly, they get established randomly, they get sold, and then they get cut randomly because each operator cuts in their own time frame and schedule. So it's all random where the timber sales are cut on an annual basis. And so they get 10% based on the acreage of county forests that they have in their township on an annual basis. And then the town of Gordon, after we pay those bills, gets 1/2 of 1% for road maintenance on a piece of, two pieces of road that are very integral to removing forest products from the county forest.
That's what I was gonna mention, that's if that's a way of reimbursing for the wear and tear.
Correct. I mean, the state's intent is it's a PILT payment, it's a payment in lieu of taxes, because this property's not being taxed. The towns get some revenue in lieu of those taxes. We always hint that the money should be spent on the roads, because the roads are very important to the timber sale. I mean, we'll gain a couple dollars per cord on a timber sale bid in a township that has better roads than a township that doesn't have that. So we'd like to see them take that 10%, put it into the roads, but the town's free to do with it whatever they like. But that's an annual statutory requirement. That's all I had.
Okay, anything else? Any other questions? If not, oh, let's see. Is there any other business at all? Okay, no. Hearing none, with the next meeting is scheduled for June 4th.
And we will have that meeting because we will have timber sales.
June 4th. Yeah, right at the bottom of your page. Okay,
Oh, all right.
so other than that, I think we're done then, right? Or Bill, go ahead.
I'd just like to say something that I think it was real helpful for you to send out the paper copy. I don't like the computer stuff. And, I wasn't home and when I got home, I went to plug the laptop and it was dead. Cause I hadn't used it for so long, but that was very helpful, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are we gonna continue at 9:30? Is that still the time?
Correct.
Anything else? Otherwise, we need a motion to adjourn. Okay, Jerry makes a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Okay, Jerry seconded it. All in favor, see by saying aye.
All right.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none. Meeting's adjourned. Thanks, then.
The end there.